So, hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to Practically Tactical. This is our live show streaming to you on YouTube. I don't know why I just did that. But you can also catch all of our shows on iTunes in a podcast format. New episodes drop every Sunday. So everybody out there, be sure to put your questions in the chat. We actually now, whether this is good or bad, we have Jeff in the actual comments now during the live show. So, see?
Things are about to get weird.
Yep.
Yeah. I said, this is more fun than the show. I'm going to do this instead.
Questions in the chat. We actually now...
That's not me.
I didn't push the pause button quick enough.
Yep. All right, this is going to be a nightmare. I love you guys in comments. If you guys got any questions in the show, be sure to put them in the chat. I will do my best to get them into the show. And, of course, if you guys like the show, be sure to hit like and please share it. We would always appreciate it. So, all right, so Jeff's hair game is on point. Jesse has a cigarette. So I think we're ready to go, right?
Jesse,
Coffee. Feeling ready.
Here we go. That's a great comment, by the way, to Jeff before I start the show.
What?
Nothing. All right, here we go. Welcome to Practically Tactical, brought to you by the Firearms Radio Network. Or, there's that one, or should I do the other one? Welcome to Practically Tactical, brought to you by the Firearms Radio Network. Practically Tactical is a show where critical thinking meets everyday carry. Which one did you like better? For everybody out there, let me know which one you liked better. Number two.
Today.
For more information on the show and to view show notes, please visit practicallytactical.com/092 or Practac Podcast. We're still working on getting those combined together. Of course, while you're looking at the show notes, be sure to do all of your Amazon shopping with our Amazon affiliate link. The link is on the website. A small portion of your sale goes to supporting great shows here on the Firearms Radio Network. All you got to do is click on the Amazon banner on the website or by visiting practicallytactical.com/Amazon. On this episode, we're going to be talking, we have some listener emails we're going to discuss. We're going to be discussing some lumens talk as we have an upcoming Sentinel Concepts, low-light handgun and carbine class. And then what else do we have? A couple emails. Oh, we got to clarify the Patreon stuff. And then something I threw in late here is talking about removing emotion from guns and gear. Because a lot of that, I know, a lot of that.
Oh.
A lot of that came up during the sling videos me and Jesse put out, because apparently all you have to do is talk about slings on ARs and 40-year-old men get really...
I don't even think it's the slings. It's the particular sling. It's like, and it's the particular company out there that makes this sling, you know. Like, you talk bad on SOE? No, you did not. You did not talk bad on SOE. Like, no, I didn't say anything. I just said bunchy slings suck.
I'm actually slowly taking them off my rifles, but no, I had something. My comedic timing is lost because I lost it.
Well, we'll forgive you. Your hair does look exceptional tonight. I
really?
do gotta admit that.
You really mean it?
I do mean it. Can I show you my flashlight on my camera real quick?
Yeah. What do you?
Anyway, so yep. So we're talking about all this here. We're terrible. Of course, check out the show notes. All the links to these guys. I do want to mention something, as we talked about before. We're going to be going to Ohio, and we're going to be doing a ton of filming. So in this, for those that are watching on YouTube, get to see all this stuff. So all these flashlights. This isn't even all of them. All these are Surefires in my hand. Ton of flashlight reviews we're going to be doing while we're there, including the IntelliBeam. But I needed to order this and a ton of others, so we had to order a ton of stuff for going down to Alliance to do a bunch of filming. And I ordered mags, flashlights. I think Jeff ordered mags. Did you get your mags already? Or they're coming tomorrow? You just ordered them tomorrow. But anyway, so Jesse, you need to order stuff. So we all hit up Ike. Ike Big Tex Outdoors. He's been on the show before, and he really helped us out by getting us a ton of gear that we needed, and he actually gave us a discount code for you guys. So if you guys go to bigtexoutdoors.com, you guys can use a code PRACTAC, capital P-R-A-C, capital T-A-C, over at bigtexoutdoors.com. Not all the products, but a lot of them, you guys get 15% off. So, for example, if you want the new Surefire IntelliBeam, you get 15% off that. A bunch of flashlights, a bunch of optics. Not everything on the site gets 15%, but a lot of stuff, so be sure to check that out. And, of course, if you're going to be doing any training, go use code PRACTAC10 and get 10% off your orders at GreatLakesAmmo.com. So, first thing we need to talk about would be Jesse.
Boom.
Your 1911, huh? That's
I know.
awesome.
I seen it. I seen it out there. Actually, I didn't even tell you about this, but I guess I'll go through the story. We took it out to the range. We only had probably about an hour and a half out at the range to do some stuff. So I put about 300 rounds through it, and it had, I mean, no problem feeding every ammo that I gave the gun. The problem I had was the mags. Last round, it had a tendency to, the follower would skip up over the actual slide catch, and it just would not lock back. No matter who shot it, what we did, it just kept bouncing over. So looking at it, I don't know, I thought it looked a little worn. I don't know, I'm no 1911 expert like Jeff over there, but in my professional opinion, it looked a little too worn. So I hit up Rock Island, and they sent me a new one out, I guess yesterday. It went in the mail, so I got an email yesterday saying that they ordered a new one for me, and it would be here within a week. So yeah, we'll throw that in. Hopefully it gets here by the time I go to Ohio. If not, I'm going to have the man take a look at it and make it work right. But it was, man, a tack driver. Like, a really sweet shooting gun, very soft. I mean, Nick, you got to shoot it a little bit. What'd you think about it?
Yeah, no, it's hard to beat a 1911 trigger. I mean, that's what 1911s are known for. No, it was a great shooting gun. And we're going to talk about this here in a minute, though. But for those that are on Patreon, we're going to clarify this because we had a couple questions with the Patreon stuff. But if you're a Patreon supporter of the $3 or up per episode, then we actually have a couple-minute video out there shooting the gun the first time we were at the range and kind of going over the issues and stuff. But we'll go over the Patreon stuff here in a minute. Jeff, you had a new, was that a new blaster you had? Oh, that's not new gun.
That's my Buffalo Bill gun. This, dun, 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 I don't know. We need some like a nice intro music. This is one of my Smith & Wesson revolvers. Everyone's like, you fucking hate revolvers. I'm like, no, I don't. I mean, just compared to semi-automatics, unless you're running a J-frame, which has a specific purpose, I prefer more bullets. Why don't people? I gotta rewatch this video because it gets so much heat. This revolvers video, like if they're practical or not. Whatever. You carry whatever you want. Anyway. This is the gun that Clarice killed Buffalo Bill with in Silence of the Lambs. And it's a Smith & Wesson Model 13, 3-inch barrel, ramp front sight, bull barrel. And this was like the standard for the FBI for years. And I got it for a song. I did a very, 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 very light trigger job on it. It was just so nice right out of the box. And so I'm having a guy named Adam Gokenauer who's going into making leather holsters, because I believe that all I think nice revolvers should have leather. I don't know. So I'm having to make me some custom inside the waistband holsters. One should be out my way before we hit Ohio. So I'm going to run my Smith & Wesson Model 19 quite a bit out there and do some videos about that and do some bonus features for Patreon about how to two different techniques for reloading the revolver.
Ooh, that'll be a good one. I know you want to put some training videos up too. And again, we'll talk about the Patreon stuff here in a minute. By the way, because we have, and he's actually in chat right now, Jared. He's at the $7 level, and if you cuss 5 times during the show, you have to write him a personal letter. You're at 1.
Ooh.
You're at 1. So.
What? Did I cuss?
You dropped an F-bomb, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And so didn't even timestamp it.
All right. Well, hey, check it out, guys. Fuck. That's number 2.
Ooh.
I got 5, baby. I got 5.
Oh.
I like to live on the edge. No, but speaking of like leather holsters and stuff, I'm thinking, I want a shoulder holster for this 1911, so I can carry, the Glock appendix still and be set up like that. But then I can have like just the shoulder holster, like 5 mags on this side that just hang down, so I can just wear like, classy jacket, with the like. Yeah, like the cool things over the actual elbows, so it helps me when I get in prone and stuff too. But it's also got a little class to it. I'm thinking I'm really going to start piping it up, too. I really want to bring the pipe back. I feel like cigars, yeah, they've been overrated for a little too long. You know, I really want to go back to, like, the old style, like, I'm sitting here, stroking the beard, got my pipe, my 1911 in my shoulder holster, and, you know, I'm just bringing classy back to the gun community, I feel like.
Yeah. And look, any hooker that gets shot with a 1911 is going to be so psyched about it because it's so classy. Especially if you've got a shoulder holster. What, am I not supposed to say that on air? Well, I did. I swear to God it is.
And I mean, yeah, when we go to not Post 46, but the other one for MDFI classes, there are a lot of hookers in the Encino Lodge parking lot that, you know, might like Lodge. To take around. Or, yeah, Econo Lounge.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Econo Lounge.
Lodge. Well, I actually got Adam Gokenauer doing a shoulder holster for me too. I don't even. It's a vertical rather than a horizontal orientation because I just feel like a dick when I'm pointing my gun at everybody. You figure out what I mean by that, viewers. So I'm going to do a vertical orientation, and that'd be a great video too. But that's going to be a while until he gets that to me. But
well, we're on the subject, so let's jump into it. Shoulder holsters. What's kind of your thoughts on it, Jeff? Is that, I mean, it. And again, not that I haven't worn any, so it's hard to speak on my experience of them. But you know, the way I look at it is, there's really not much that a shoulder holster does that I can't do carrying it in my waistband. Mm-hmm. What's your thoughts on that, Jeff? Other than look cool, of course you can't look cool, you know.
Right. You know, I think that for certain applications they make sense. Like if I was sitting in a vehicle all the time, I think it would kind of make sense. But I think that it's a limited application type thing. I mean, and there's other issues like, you know, needing to have a cover garment, i.e. a jacket on, and not being able to take that jacket off. So I think that it's a limited type application, really. But you know, they got the cool factor, and I want to try one with the Smith & Wesson 13 and do a video because it's kind of cool. Well, it's cool in that the draw stroke doesn't really deviate all too much the way that we approach draw stroke, but you do really need to be aware of your muzzle. You know, that's why I really do not like horizontal orientation holsters, because when you draw it out, this is my I like turtle shirt because I'm really serious, dude. But when you draw it out, you know, you're crossing like everybody with your muzzle, you know. Whereas if the muzzle's oriented downward in a vertical orientation, you can kind of do that with your finger gun.
Yeah. But cross draw is awesome, right, Jesse?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I like cross draw or like, yeah, middle of my back, but opposite side. So like, you know, I do left hand, but the middle of the back. So it's just, you know, personal preference. It's all up to you.
For those that know, he's joking. He's joking.
Yeah, please. Please don't carry like that.
There's like very, very few people, I can count on probably like a couple of fingers, that I would trust carrying a horizontal shoulder holster who I would be comfortable training next to. And even then, I'd want to be on the other side of them, you know. So I think that I don't know. I think that they're kind of sketchy.
I would agree with that.
I would say yeah. I mean, but Halloween, you know, come on, you can open carry shoulder holster as part of the costume setup.
Yeah, carry your.
We're almost there. We're almost there.
Brennan 10, Miami Vice reference.
Brennan 10, brah.
Yeah. Wow, Larry Vickers actually did a video on those. You can check them out. It's kind of cool. They were really never guns that were really that advanced. That was one of the killer things about them. But let's jump on to something real quick here because we mentioned Patreon a bunch. We had a bunch of questions about do I have to pay $7 an episode, or how does it work? No, we have $1, $3, $5, and $7. Just different rewards for each one. Basically, if you're at the $3 and up, you basically get all the behind-the-scenes content. There's just additional perks, like the $5 one when we release our patch. You're automatically going to get the patch. $7 gets that as well. All the $7 ones, people that subscribe for the $7 per episode, will get to hang out with us once a month. So I think we're going to be doing our private Google Hangout when we're in Alliance all together. So all three of us will be in the same room together. And then for all of our $7 patrons, and $7 patrons, if I'm saying it, Patreons, I'm not sure of the term there, will join us as well for that chat. It'll be a good time. But I wanted to also, so the way it works is you sign up for it, and then it's taken out at the end of the month. So, for example, people that signed up are going to get a bunch of stickers, and we have some other stuff that we're giving out. So for October, the rest of October, you'll actually get charged for all of that at the beginning of November, and then we ship out all the stuff at the beginning of November. So I want to let you guys know there. And again, we thank you for support. The Patreon's only been out for 1 week, and we're $3 an episode away from our first goal. We're at $22 per episode, so we thank you guys very much. That's huge for us. And a couple more dollars, we're going to be doing some audio equipment upgrades for these two guys, getting them up to spec. I know Jeff is jealous that he doesn't get to talk into a mic like this. I know he really, really wants to, don't you, Jeff?
It'll go to my head real fast. I'm just being honest.
Yeah, but for everybody out there, again, thank you guys so much for being supporters. Whether it be on Patreon or not, we really appreciate you guys that supporting the show, like all 20-something out in the chat right now having a good time. All right. This is a great segue, though, for shoulder holsters, cross draw, which are, there's a lot of people that will say that's the way to go, no matter what. Removing emotions from guns and gear. And this is something I put up on our Facebook page, something that I put up and I need to mention this too. For all of our listeners out there, if you're interested in joining, we have a private listener Facebook group. If you want to be interested in joining that, just email me, get a hold of me on social media, whatever, get you added to the group. Put a post in there. But this was something that came up again in the sling video. Me and Jesse put up 2 sling videos. We put out a 1-point versus 2-point comparison video, and then we put up our actual sling video. And yeah, we had a bunch of people unsubscribe and throw a fit. I had to block some people because they were screaming at each other. Like, it was absolutely insane. Like, dropping F-bombs at each other, calling each other names over slings on a gun. It's absolutely crazy. Never would have thought this ever. But, yeah, you want to say something?
Well, I ran the bungee sling for a while, like years and years. And the one thing that I really didn't like, I don't know if he's made it different now on the SOE sling.
We did not even specify a manufacturer of sling. But everybody was like, you guys are bashing SOE. And it's like, no, we didn't mention any specific manufacturer. Because there's...
Well, whoever makes the fucking sling, that's 3. Okay,
He's getting a letter.
I just, whatever. It's like, this is a perfect segue into that whole thing about removing the ego and stuff from the guns and stuff. But I didn't like how the tab, I never found that was a good solution. Just having that, like once you cinch it down, if you want to get real tight, you got that long piece of stuff hanging down, and on more than one occasion, regardless of whether I was running an AK or an AR. When you're kind of flinging the gun up and trying to reload it, that tab would get in that magazine well, and I'd have to remove it with a finger and then reload the gun. So I've been using the new Magpul slings, and man, I'll tell you, they are so rapid with their adjustment, and I'm liking them very, very much. And they're in it, and they're reasonably priced. They're like $45, $50. I don't know how they made that little zoomer guy attachment thing with the quick adjust, but it's friggin' genius.
Well, go ahead, Jesse.
Do you run that 1-point or 2-point, Jeff?
2-point. The only thing that I would really run 1-point would be like some sort of SBS, like short-barreled shotgun, or really short-barreled rifle. Other than that, I tried single point. I really did. I'm sure that there is an application, but for what I do with these rifles and stuff, you're kind of having the purpose running a single point. If you're an entry guy, yeah, well, obviously, a single point sling is going to make a lot of sense. You don't care about, getting real stable for a shot. You're shooting, some meth cooker with a sound suppressor like across the room. It doesn't really matter if you've got single point, 2-point, 1-point, 8-point, whatever. But yeah, for any kind of real practical type stuff, I find that a 2-point is an actual sling. It gives you the ability to get in, to positions and really bear down on that rifle, which is the purpose, like I view, and this will be my last point because I don't want to rehash this whole thing, although because you guys did such a fine job stirring that pot. I swear to God it is. But,
I swear to God it is. I'll say it right to your face.
I'll say this right to your face. Hold my beer. But, I feel like a single point sling is about it's a minimalist approach, and, the only real good thing about them is there's two little points. One, shoulder transitions, and two would be, they don't get in the way of gear and chest rigs as badly. But, what are your purposes? That's the thing, is people need to define their purposes for each individual gun. And that's the first thing. The first thing that if somebody says, I want to buy a gun, okay, for what purpose? Is it a self-defense gun? Is it a gun that you're going to carry? Is it a gun that you want to plink with? Solely, is it a precision gun? Define. That's how you find parameters for any kind of purchase. Otherwise, that's just like, I want to get a car. Okay, well, do you want a dump truck or do you want a Fiat? I mean, like, what are we talking about here?
I want a dump truck.
Tank.
I feel like
last question I had for you just on your sling setup, because me and Nick kind of just did a video, is where do you attach and how do you attach your sling to the actual rifle?
I am not a fan and again, this is a limited experience thing, but I just hated it from the start. Is anything like those little QD things that hover around the end cap of an AR, right where the charging handle. I just found that if I ever run the charging handle, they just get in the way. So I like running it through just the end of the buttstock. Like I think that Stoner and all those other people got it right when they had those, with the collapse. What's that?
You just run it. Yep, just right through.
Yeah, anywhere through there. I mean, I don't think that there's a wrong and a right answer. It's just getting comfortable with it. On my car, my XM177E2S John. You like that?
That is nice.
Like a little bit of like both worlds, like very technical, but also like very like arts. Like he's an artist.
For a second, I thought you were going to go with remember the VW commercials of Vimpia Ato.
But yeah, that's where I run it, and then I run the other one up front. I do like to have some sort of quick detach for whatever reasons.
For tactical reasons.
Because if tactical isn't in the name, then what use could it be?
Yeah.
No, I've been running the Magpul sling as well. 2-point. I did kind of the Proctor where I did the front end with some 550 cord. And I like the MS3. The problem I find is kind of when I'm coming out quickly, though, off the slider, near the very end, it tends to get bunched up a little bit once in a while. I mean, it would already be loose enough for me to work everything that I need to. It's all the way at the end. But, when I go to start to come back a little bit, I have to kind of give it a pull and then give it a cinch, and then that way it can tighten back up to me. But no, I think we're all definitely in agreement of the 2-point sling is the way to go. And that's where we've seen a lot of hate on the video. Is again, and me and Nick just simply stated, like, if you run a 1-point, that's great. I did it for a long time as well. It's just I found a lot more benefits with the 2-point, and that's what I found works for me. It's whatever you run, if you can run it, that's the biggest thing. I mean, there's a lot of instructors out there that'll tell you don't even need a sling because, again, you're getting into this fantasy band camp of where you need weapon retention and, you're not on patrol all day long where you're just walking city streets with this gun slung, It's sitting in the safe. You got to grab it for a home defense rifle or something like that. So there's a lot of instructors out there that, they don't even push a sling, especially shotguns and stuff like that. But, that was just kind of, we just want, see where you were at in the sling game with us.
If people want to get butthurt about that kind of stuff, I think that's just a certain, I don't care. I don't care. I've got an opinion that is based on my experience, shooting and taking tons of classes and training, and if people like that, then great. And I'm not saying that it's the the end-all be-all or that I'm 100% correct. I mean, but it's based on just what I know. You know, if that gets you butthurt, then I don't care.
Right.
I swear to God, it is. That's going to be the
Say
theme.
right to your face.
What? Ooh, there's a good question for Jared. I'll get to that question here in a minute. But 3-point slings, I don't have any experience with them. It's from everything. I mean, just from me looking into them, I don't really see any benefits of a 3-point sling over a 2-point sling.
They're outdated. That was like the original old school cool. I mean, and don't quote me on this, but I think that the first time that like we saw 3-point slings in use was this. I want to say 1971-ish when those I think it was I'm so bastardizing this, I'm sure, but the GSG-9 guys with MP5s like stormed. It was like something having to do with the Olympics, and they shot up all those terrorist guys, and they had 3-point slings and MP5s, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, like who are they?" And I want that. But yeah, 3-point slings aren't necessary. They just add some complexity and yeah.
So no.
I feel like I'm too stupid for a 3-point sling. I had one I picked up at the PX when I was over in Iraq, you know, to give it a try, and yeah, it's just too much stuff going on with it. I like to keep my stuff stupid simple, so that way I can, you know, figure out the rest of the problem that's going on, not be sitting there trying to deal with the gear and everything else. Yeah.
Oh man, I'd love to show you this old 3-point that I have, and it's got. You're absolutely right, Jesse. They have some of the, and I'm a relatively bright person when it comes to, I've just been in it long enough. I'm not that bright. But they've got clips on clips that I don't even know what the function of them is supposed to be.
I've got extra parts here. Am I supposed to have extra parts here?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. It's like, is this for, like, I don't know. My mind just kind of goes blank when I see some of this stuff. But what do I know?
Yeah. Let's but sorry to kind of go back to this while we got off there, but so removing emotions from guns and gear, this is kind of something that, and again too, I'm not saying that I know I'm guilty of it. I'm sure all of us are guilty of it, but I see it as a hindrance, a really big hindrance, especially if you're blind to it. For example, like one thing I'd be of, and I actually tried to get one of these, but I couldn't. I wanted to get a Taurus Judge, because so many people are just like, Taurus Judge, best thing ever for home defense. And no, it's not, but they'll be so emotionally attached to this idea of this gun. But it also goes across, I mean, you can say it with emotionally, you know, you have a Glock. If you get a bad Glock and it doesn't run, but you're so emotionally attached to it, or, you know, whatever type of gun or whatever type of gear, people get so emotionally attached to it, whether they want their, they have their ego involved in it, they have their, they want their purchase validated. Whatever it might be, I just see that if you get wrapped up too emotionally into a piece of gear or a gun, and it could not be something that's actually helpful to you, it could be a really, really bad life. I don't want to say life-ending decision. That'd be really bad. But it could be a really big mistake in the long run. What's kind of your thoughts on that, Jeff?
Well, you know, I'd want you to kind of define a little bit more, because I agree, but you know, as far as, you know, a life ending or a bad life decision or life choice, you know, I mean, I do find that people do invest their ego in stuff. Just understand that, you know, I think that for me the definition of ignorance is contempt prior to to investigation. Thank you, higher power person that just came and told me that. From the depths. But, you know, if you're running a single point, you never tried a 2-point, then try it. And then you can figure out if you like a single point or a 2-point better. Hell, half these slings you can convert from single point to 2-point. You know, so remove the ego a little bit. You know, my whole thing is, and I wrote this before I was permanently banned on PAFOA, was, you know, the gun is a tool treated as such, and people went like berserk. And this is back in my days when I used to stipple my Glocks as crudely as possible just to make a point, which is who cares what it looks like? You know, it's a hammer. It's a perforation tool. It's a hatchet. I don't care how it looks as long as it functions. And people I think do invest way too much of their ego and pride in what's merely a tool. Now that being said, I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't also say that there are guns that I want to keep clean and shiny and nice. Like, my 03A3 03 hybrid that John Robinson built. Yeah, I baby that. I don't want that to get messed up. But I don't treat my Glock like that. So, but that's that 03A3 is my prized possession. If I was living in a box in an alley, it would be the box and some KY jelly in that rifle. Just what I need to live.
Just KY and a gun. Is that all you need to live, Jesse?
I need a couple more things. As long as I've got cigarettes and coffee on top of that, then we're good to go. I can make it. At least 30 days I can live like that, no problem.
Swear to God I can.
You gotta give. No, I can't. I was gonna have you give away one of the lines, but we'll save that for later.
Okay. Yeah.
But I do want to jump to a couple email from listeners because, and again, for everybody out there, as we talked about on the last show, if you guys have anything you want us to discuss on the show, please email one of us. Any of us will get this on the show. So I want to go through 2 emails we got from listeners. But before we go into this, I want to mention that we're not lawyers. We never have been lawyers. I'm pretty sure I'm never going to be a lawyer. I think Jeff's probably the only one smart enough to possibly be a lawyer here. So
no, I did watch a lot of Suits. I watched like all 5 seasons or whatever's out right now. So I could possibly be a lawyer. I mean, I object.
I watched some TMZ and Judge Judy. I'm ready.
Okay, well, we're not lawyers currently at this time, but you never know.
I have not passed the bar. We'll just go with that.
There we go. But so if you're ever in any type of if you need legal advice, go to a lawyer that is specific to self-defense type of related issues. So I wanted to say that before we jump into this question, because this is definitely a deep question that is in this kind of law area. So we're just going to give our ideas on this. We're not saying it's legal advice. Did we cover ourselves there? Think so.
Sure.
So. This is an email from a listener named Jeremy. So he goes, I suffer from chronic pain, and I'm under the care of a pain management specialist. I was in a major crushing accident 6 years ago where I broke my lower spine in 5 vertebrae, my neck in 2 vertebrae, and my hip. After 6 surgeries, lots of titanium and screws, too many procedures to count, and years of physical therapy, there's not much else that can be done. I'll be on pen medication for the rest of my life unless some new procedure is developed. He's on a couple different narcotic meds. I don't mention those because it's relevant. So he's on those, and they're strong. So being a concealed carry citizen, I realize that I'm responsible for every bullet that exits my barrel. But if I was involved in a justified self-defense shooting, could a prosecutor use my pain medication against me? I've been on these meds for almost 7 years, so I have no side effects such as dizziness, drowsiness, blurred vision, cognitive impairment, etc. As a matter of fact, I'm a very active competitive shooter. I drive a vehicle every day. He flies airplanes. My pain management doctor knows that I carry a firearm and that I'm a pilot, but has never cautioned me about doing any of these on the meds. I'm confident in my mental and physical abilities when I'm carrying, but I know how criminal prosecutors can be. He actually trains as well. He took a Masad Ayub class, and he talked about how the fact that a blow to the face or head could lead to another cervical spine fracture quite easily. Masad Ayub, which is extremely credible in this area, told him that since he is more likely to suffer a serious bodily harm or death from a punch to the jaw or head, that he has a right to use deadly force before your average person based on disparity of force. He didn't think about asking about the pen medication at the time, so he thought that he would email into Practically Tactical and get our discussion on it. So that's a loaded freaking question there. But let's go to the first question here. So if he was involved in a justified self-defense shooting, could a prosecutor go after him for that? And Jesse, and I'll throw it to you and see if you agree with me here, is that it's the prosecutor's job to go after you for anything. So I think they should, if you're in this situation, plan on that happening.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it comes down to, kind of like tricking out your trigger and everything else, like, oh, he had self-defense bullets and press check serrations, so he just wanted to go out and kill people, I think, they're going to come at you for every single thing. I think it's your, responsibility to be able to show, hey, I've been responsible. That's where you bring up, all this training that you've taken, your daily tasks that obviously it doesn't prevent you from, driving a motor vehicle or yet flying an aircraft or any of these things. So I think, it would limit you in other areas if they didn't want you to carry a firearm at that point. I think obviously they would be sending you some kind of letter as you get they can just bring up things out of random and be like, hey man, you can't have guns for this time and place.
Yeah. But Jeff, so I'll go to you. What were your thoughts on that?
Me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, hi. Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, I will agree with Masada Ayub. Imagine if I preface that with saying, I don't agree with Masada Ayub. Leader of the Lethal Force Institute, founder. No, but I mean, there is disparity of force. This kind of brings up that age-old thing of the man with the eggshell head. If you were born with an eggshell-thin skull that was susceptible to, if you even fell, you could die, could you use lethal force earlier than, per se, someone who's, super fit, athletic, mixed martial artist, kicks ass, 24-0 in the ring? Yeah, you could. Disparity of force says that. Someone very close to me has a physical condition where, if they got into a tussle, an entangled fight, it could end very, very badly for them, very much earlier than someone like, the three of us. So yes, I agree with Masada Ayub. That's why it's nice that this guy's already done some of that research. Anybody that is not a member of Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network, Marty D. Hayes' organization, should join it, and that'll give them way more information than I ever could about justifiable shootings. And as far as the pain medication, I hate to kind of push it off to someone else, but you got to ask a lawyer about that. I mean, everything that I understand thus far about that, lethal use of force, is that if it's a good shoot, it's a good shoot. It doesn't matter what you did. If it's a bad shoot, it's a bad shoot. It doesn't matter what you did. But also expect litigation. Expect that you're going to be sued. Expect that you're going to spend the night in jail. Expect that you're going to need to call your lawyer and lawyer up and understand the different dynamics. I mean, anybody that is not a member of, that is a good law-abiding armed citizen that carries a gun for the protection of themselves and their loved ones and potentially an innocent, if you are not a member of Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network, I hate to speak absolutes, but you're wrong. You've got to get on that. This is the kind of stuff that literally saves your ass. And will give you the information that you need prior to using lethal force, and maybe even get you out of having to use it in the first place. So that's a huge thing. But as far as the pain meds, I would say consult an attorney. But yeah, I mean, expect that that's all going to be brought out in court. And that's where the guy, and this is the old, the CYA thing. CYA stands for cover your ass, as we all know, but it also stands for can you articulate? Like people get all over, don't modify your triggers and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, first of all, show me the, and people say this on my channel and stuff when I talk about my Glocks and the mods and stuff like that. They're like, prosecutor's dream. And I'm like, okay, well, CYA, can you articulate? If I say, and I'm not talking about lowering your Glock trigger to 1.5 pounds. It's like, okay, now you're going to have problems. But, if I can state in court, and my lawyer can state in court that, yeah, that gun was modified so that he can deliver rounds more accurately, I mean, what are you going to say to that? Oh yeah, well yeah, but it's a death ray and he's just aiming to kill people. Well, then that's when a good lawyer stands up and covers you. But it's can you articulate and have you thought about this stuff beforehand? And I believe in in my case with the Glock modifications and stuff like that, I have, and I have yet again these. I don't want to get up to 4, but these internet people who are like, I've yet to show me the case studies. I don't care what you think. Show me the case studies. Stop bullshitting me. With like trying to tell me. Does that count? Am I allowed?
Yeah.
Not allowed?
No, it's got the S word.
Okay. Stop trying. Like paying me. Lip service and keyboard service, and give me the case studies. Where somebody's 1911 that had a trigger job got him in jail. Okay. Till you can do that, shut up. It's I have no time for it. It's just like, shut up about it.
I actually talked about this on one episode. From my research, that again, could be more out there, this is just me on the internet, is this whole thing came from what I can find. I believe it was in the 70s, 60s. I can't remember his name now. I don't have it up in front of me, but it's in an earlier podcast. This was in New York, and this person was a legal concealed carrier at the time. And there was some sort of incident that happened, and a guy was he left, went and got his gun, came back. Duh, that's already bad. So, but the guy was coming after him with like a bat or something. So the guy drew out his revolver, put it in single action. The guy wouldn't stop, and then he pulled the trigger, like shot between the eyes. Lights out, dead, one shot, like perfect shot placement. However.
Yeah.
The guy did not say that he intentionally pulled the trigger. The gun accidentally went off. And then from there it was like, well, then it was that you intentionally put it into a single action mode lighter trigger, then it went off, thus making it a negligent discharge, really not an intentional. And from my research, again, let me know if you find something else. That is where this whole lightened trigger work kind of stuff came from, was this case. But again, the guy left the situation, came back with a gun, put it in a single action, and then intentionally said that he didn't mean to pull the trigger.
Yeah, that can fall into the whole premeditation type. And again, I'm not a lawyer, okay, so, but that can fall into the premeditation type thing. Whereas if you have time, and I'm not talking about an active shooter spraying, kids and stuff in the middle of the food court. Yeah, to do single action, but for a typical interpersonal violence, 0 to 5, 7, 21 feet, whatever the people talk about. Yeah, if you have time to cock the hammer, then maybe you should have been using other means. That's why a lot of people, and myself included, on a defensive revolver, I really like the idea of eliminating the single action. Or making it so that it's difficult to do, i.e., bobbing the hammer to the point where, and like if I'm doing there's one person that I've done actually 2 people that I've done revolver packages for where I keep the single action thing because they specifically stated that they wanted it, but otherwise I eliminate it just so if it goes to court, and they can also tell by the primer hits whether it was double action or single action because. Hold on one second. Double action has slightly lighter strikes than single action. Okay, because it's the hammer's being released a little bit earlier. So if your trial goes to that point and it comes out that you were cocking the gun, again, not the guy that's shooting up the school, so to speak, where that guy's got to take a very precise shot, that can hurt you in court. And I would say avoid that. Get a double action revolver. You could have a trigger job done. Use it. Understand how you can, become as nasty with that tool and really have ownership of the tool and the skill set that's required to use it.
I would say get training to where you make good. If it's a shooting, you do a good shoot.
Yes,
I think that's going to be.
Yeah, that's going to be the biggest thing is if your life is in danger and you can articulate why you needed to use that to save your own life. I mean, again, everything you're going to be put at a position of disadvantage, and that's where taking this training really shows you that it's a big responsibility to carry a gun, and yeah, if you do have to shoot somebody, you're not going to have like a good month. They're not going to show up on scene and be like, "Yo, high five, bro! Great shooting right there. You put down the bad guy. Awesome job. Here, just go ahead and take my Glock home. We're going to take this one back, and yeah, have a nice day. We'll call you in a few." It's like, that's not how it goes, you know. It's going to be a bad day for you for sure. It's not going to be fun. So I think that's, again, setting yourself up for success, taking these training classes. And I think, you know, the biggest training classes are those intro to intermediate force, like the ECQC, the things where, yeah, you're up close and maybe the gun isn't even the answer in some of these situations. And I think that's the biggest thing of problem solving in a lot of this is, yeah, getting away from only thinking that, you know, the gun's the only tool in a lot of these situations.
Yeah. And, you know, if your only skill set is with guns, and, you know, it goes again to that age-old adage of if all you've got is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, you know? So I want to try to avoid that by getting as robust and diverse of a skill set as possible, and that's what I recommend people do.
No, yeah. That helps you to articulate, you know, I past this point because he was acting like this, you know, he did this, that made me go to this level of force, and it's knowing, yeah, those levels of force, because like you said, it's different, you know, it's different from this 5'6", you know, little 110-pound girl compared to, yeah, some guy that's 6'3", 240 walking around, you know, that escalation of force between them two is pretty substantial, and I mean, a civilian compared to law enforcement and everything else, so I think it's definitely getting out there and getting the training and knowing at what levels you can use this type of force as well.
No. Well, and this is a great segue to the other question we had emailed in from Garrett in New Hampshire. He said, "Great to see Jesse and Jeff joining you in a full-time capacity." So, kudos to these two. He wanted to suggest doing a show on verbals and de-escalation. I think we'll be doing a show on less than lethal type of stuff coming up here. But I do want to talk about this real quick here because, and again, go back to episode 63. Can't remember the exact one. Self-defense more than a gun with MDFI. We talk about some of this stuff, but and I think a lot of this gets lost. And Jeff, you know, being on the internet YouTube channel, you might see a lot of this of you know, kind of the hammer and the nail thing here too is, but carrying a gun, we have to literally try harder than anybody else not to get into a lethal situation. We literally have to try harder not to get into that assaultive type of situation or a physical altercation. We have to try harder to get out of those since we're carrying a gun, right?
From your mouth to God's ears.
I swear to God it is.
Yeah, yeah, because for all the above reasons, and naturally, I mean, forget about like even all the legal stuff, but talk about, you know, if you're a reasonably decent person and you just, you know, your head goes hot and you shoot someone and you were the reason that situation escalated to the point where you felt the need at the time to use lethal force, like, dude, you're going to have a spiritual, moral battle that's going to last a lifetime. You know, so, you know, I'm more law-abiding. I don't let stuff get to me. You know, I'm human. It's like sometimes you get kind of pissed off when you're driving or something, but, you know, I just don't let stuff bother me like it probably would, and I don't let stuff escalate because I don't let stuff develop. So
you're saying it's wrong to shoot at people on the interstate?
Just don't make me pop this trunk. You just cut me off. Oh.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like the police would understand that they didn't use a blinker. Like they would understand it. I don't know. Could just be me.
High five, bro. Good shit.
Yeah, but Jesse, so we'll go back to our introduction, intermediate force of verbals and de-escalation. What tips might you have?
I mean, honestly, the biggest thing is, again, it goes back to like situational awareness. It's reading people's body language. It's reading the situation before you even get into it. You know, a lot of us can tell by social norms and how people act of, oh, something's going to go down here. I mean, where have you been where, you know, a fight's about to break out or something like that, and you start noticing those key body language signs. So we talk about, you know, those different color zones kind of, you know, and avoiding that white or that just not knowing what's going on, kind of no situational awareness zone. From there, it's, yeah, again, knowing those levels of force, knowing that aggressive person, that just non-compliant person, those different people that you're going to interact with every day. And, I mean, you know, it's real life. You deal with people all the time. So it's, again, reading people to a point and keeping a good space. You know, I think that's the other thing. Give yourself time to react and give yourself that artificial reach distance, because if it goes bad, it's going to go bad quick, and it doesn't take people a lot of time to cover distance. And again, there's a big difference between an assaultive threat that maybe doesn't warrant that lethal force, you know. So I can't recommend, you know, intermediate training, stuff like that enough, because that's where we deal with a lot in day-to-day life. We're not dealing with that 1% of where that gun comes out, and we need to off-access shooter, all that other stuff that we go into on the flat range and, you know, the shoot houses and all that stuff. The intermediate force level is where we're at most of the time. That's dealing with that, yeah, that guy that you cut off that's now pissed off and you've got to, you know, calm him back down, or that guy that he thought you checked out his girlfriend, or, you know, just all those other things that you deal with on day to day. So again, I think it's yeah, just knowing that color zone and those escalations of force.
Yeah. Well, and something too that was probably one of my favorite things that we talked about with intermediate force was changing vectors. And Jeff, I'd be interested to get your thinking on it. So, you know, a good way to avoid whether you see some, you know, if you think trouble's coming at you, or, you know, what it might be, is you change your vector. So change, you know, if you're walking on the right side of the road, change to the left side of the road. And then if you know, basically it was if it changes twice, you know, something is not right. So, you know, you go to the left side of the road, okay, that person goes, then you go back to the right side of the road. Obviously, that's coincidence. It's the same thing if, you know, you take 4 right turns to find out if you're being followed, because the statistical chance of the person behind you doing those exact same turns is literally nothing. But I thought that was a great way. Yeah. I can either confirm nor deny that I was in the Secret Service. But I think that's a good way of not getting into it. But Jeff, verbals. I mean, there's nobody you can't sweet talk out of a fight. I know that for sure.
Who, me?
Yes.
I would just be like, they'd be like, you looking at my girlfriend? I'd be like, sweetheart, I'm gay, or something like that.
I was looking at you.
No, there's
whoa.
The best verbalization, de-escalation tools that I have ever come across in all of my studies, which includes martial arts and combatives-based stuff. Well, less so combatives, excuse me. Combatives is just fighting. But is really Craig Douglas's stuff, Southnark stuff. I just think that it's really well thought out and it's excellent. And actually what you're talking about sweet talking somebody out of it is addressed in the class and in ECQC, Extreme Close Quarter Concepts, which is, you know, you can get very easily caught up in the dialogue, and that's when you can get sucker punched. And that's something that you will experience real time. So there's very few people. I wouldn't even call myself one of them unless I'm really on a game, which that's not when this stuff happens. You know, this stuff happens when you just had something annoying happen to you and your head's in, you know, not in the right place, and then somebody, you know, comes up, and that's kind of where you're going. That's why it's so important to play the tape, as John Farnham likes to say, which is, you know, you just hit the play button, whatever that is, whether it's no thanks, or I'm sorry I can't help you, or I'm in a rush, whatever it is, you know, but you got to have that stuff pre-programmed. And I think that Craig's stuff, and not to give it away, because I would honestly just be rehashing what he has said. I think that he's got a very, very good way of getting from the lowest amount, and this is just escalating with voice, so just vocally without even going, or excuse me, verbally without going into any kind of hands-on stuff, from from just getting a little information to escalating it until you're yelling at someone, to then bridging that gap once they've, like if somebody keeps moving in on you and you've already said, back the F up, if you typically cuss, that's not the, if you don't cuss, like if you're like a really good Christian or something like that, and the F-bomb never comes out of your mouth, that's not the time to start cussing, because it'll sound weird and not true, and they'll just call your bluff. But from there, they've already, if somebody continues to, what Craig calls it, an encroachment problem, you want to kind of manage your own space. So somebody's already now you've gone through your verbal escalation stuff to try to get them to stop coming into your personal space. That's the time when, Craig will recommend a certain procedure, which would start to bridge the gap into an actual hands-on thing. I'm not going to tell you what it is, because guess what? You got to take the class. You got to pay the ticket.
Me and Jesse were going to sign up for his Wisconsin one, and it's sold out. The class isn't even for 8 months, and it's sold out already.
Wow.
The class makes me sweat and nervous.
I would... Damn. Well, you guys it's worth traveling for, man. And whatever you do,
for sure.
I'll talk to Craig, and if you guys get into a class, sign up for a class or whatever, I'll try to come and kind of just hang out and range monkey and watch.
Whoop up on you guys a little bit. No big deal. Choke you out.
I'll videotape your evolutions, and man, it's really telling. You will know, your weak points, your growth areas after taking a class like that.
So like a not a good defense, be like, ah! And like slapping like this and running away. Like, again, they circle you, so it makes running away very hard in that situation. Man, there's so much truth in that. I think that it shouldn't even be called ECQC. It should just be called the truth. But I can't speak high enough volumes. And if one person really digs what I'm saying about Craig Douglas's classes, ECQC, ShivWorks is his company, shivworks.com. Man, tell him that you heard about it here. That I am happy to espouse the gospel of that, because I just believe in it, man. I believe in that coursework, and it's changed a lot. He doesn't like to. I was like, yo, man, why don't you talk more about, like, how life-changing this is? And he's like, well, he doesn't want to become a motivational speaker, and that's for everybody's individual journey and all that. But I'm like, I'll be the motivational speaker in every class. No, I think, I don't want to jump too much on it, because we do have an awesome show coming up about this a little bit. But I think one of the biggest things like that I seen on one of your videos, actually, is that you're like, yeah, just go to the gun, man. Just do it. Like, I was just about to do that. I was just about to, and it's like, oh, it's just too late. And I think, again, like, when you talk about real life training, and that's what it really comes down to, is like, this is a real life class. This is two people in your face that approach you. And again, like, bad guys don't come at you like, hey, man, I've got a gun out, like, blah, blah, blah. It's always when you're, like you said, kind of off guard, or they catch you at the wrong time. So I think it really shows that, people are not a threat, not a threat, not a threat, and then they're a threat. And this class really just, everything from holding on to your gun. How many people just get their own gun ripped away from them and beaten with it and shot with it? And it's like, yeah, it's an intimidating class, for one. If you guys haven't, go check out the videos. There's tons of great YouTube videos out there. And yeah, it's one class that every person that I've talked to in other training classes, it's like these guys are squared away at the range and shooting, and it's like they took this class and I was like, man, I thought about quitting. Like, I honestly went back to the hotel night one and was like, I'm thinking about just leaving and not showing up, like going home, selling all my guns, because all that cool guy stuff that I did before this, and then I go to this class and it's like, well, none of it's worth it if I get in a real-life situation like this. And, yeah, I just get beat up by some 120-pound girl that knows how to judo flip me, or, and, again, it's real life for sure. And you just don't hear enough about it.
Sorry, I go back to Keith from MDFI. I think the first shoot house, they have Craig Douglas come out once a year. So maybe
class.
I know, that's why I was literally just thinking right now of like, yeah, we need to hold the track and be like, save us a spot in that class. But so I think, yeah, the first time they talked about it, so I think Keith opened up with explaining the class was, so there it was in a car ripping the rear view windshield off of the windshield and beating a 23-year-old 120-pound girl in the face with it. You know?
Well,
it's like, yeah. Like, but that's the thing though, is we always want, and we covered this in the introduction to Force classes, we always want to be nice to people. We always, you never want to be a jerk. You never want to be mean to someone or offend someone, especially in today's society. Oh, geez, that's terrible. But you never always want to be that. And then in this class, that stuff just in this class, from everything I understand, being nice is what gets you killed.
Not necessarily. And also, I think that Craig's curriculum is excellent, and the class is excellent. But also understand that this is based upon his experience. If you look at some of like Tom Givens, formerly of Rangemaster, who's a world-class instructor. I think that Rangemaster still exists. It's just they don't have the physical facility now. They just does mobile training. World-class guy. I was an instructor under him and all that stuff, and got certified under him, etc. But all of his case studies, and he's got some 50-plus case studies of his students getting involved in shootings because Memphis is that dangerous. His experience would tell you that, these case studies of these students who used force, i.e. their guns, that most of them were able to see their sights. Most of them had enough ambient lighting to see their sights, and it was at a distance where it wasn't an entangled fight. Craig's experience has been working the street, doing undercover buys and stuff like that as an undercover narcotics agent. That he was always involved, or often, very frequently involved in an entangled fight. Now, so if you look at that, well, then you don't do one to the exclusion of the other. So just because all of Tom Given's students, or most of them, could see their sights doesn't mean that I'm not going to carry a flashlight. Just because I really am a big proponent of Craig Douglas's training with the ECQC, with doing combatives, with being really that whole body, using your body as the tool, doesn't mean that necessarily my fight's going to look like that. Again, this is what I call like the self-defense spectrum. Your personal protection plan, in my opinion, should involve these different things so that you're better prepared. So that because you don't know, nobody can tell you what your fight's going to look like. They just can't. That's why you take different classes. That's why you study stuff, and you grow as a human being. You grow as a martial artist. You grow as a student. Getting kind of zen there, but I believe it.
No, I totally agree. I think it kind of goes back to how MDFI teaches that whole person concept. It's setting yourself up for success in as many situations as you can. Like you said, because most people don't use a weapon light, does that mean I don't need to carry a weapon light? And that's how most people try to justify it, is like, well, statistically speaking, but again, this is real life. There's variables. There's so many things that can change, and I mean, that's what training really shows you, is that one little thing in a room could, like I said, set the room or the scene or somebody's attitude, one thing that you do different. You could run the same scene over 5 times with 5 different people, and everyone's going to get a different outcome at the end. So I think, like you said, it's setting yourself up for success in as many situations as you can and giving yourself those tools to help you succeed no matter kind of where you're at, because again, no one's going to say, hey, tomorrow at noon, show up, we're gonna shoot it out, we're gonna duel like the Old West, because if they did, I just wouldn't show up. I'd be like, nah, I'm good.
Exactly. Well, let me ask you this, Jesse. With your experiences overseas and stuff, because one of the things I was just going to say is we have to be flexible, right? I mean, and if I was going to ask you, so I'll ask you. How rigid were you when stuff started to go south? You were probably as flexible as you had to be for a given situation, right?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Like you said, you never knew what was going to happen, and it was always at the worst time. You know, it was the shitty day. It's raining outside. You know, you're not paying attention. And all of a sudden, that's when you get blown up. All of a sudden, you guys are getting shot at. You're diving behind cover. You know, you're finding what's available. And again, like I just, back then I didn't have any of these tools that I have now to be like, okay, this is what I need to break down the situation of this. It was kind of relying on, higher leadership, guys that had, kind of been in that situation. But like you said, I mean, it was being flexible, it was adapting to it. And the biggest thing is you have support in those situations. In real life where we're at as armed citizens, we don't have that support line. So I can't get hit and call up QRF and be like, guys, get out here. I need helicopter support. I need this, There's none of that. It's you by yourself until the situation's done, and your fight's over at that point. Like I said, we've got 911 here, but it doesn't really play into it because, they're not getting called till after the fact or while it's going on, and it's not going to be a 40-minute flat-out gunfight like that, So just, again, two different worlds, so.
That's a very good distinction to make, too, very good distinction. Well said.
Good job, Jesse. Look at that.
Internet high five.
Gold star for Jesse.
Everybody gets one.
Swear to God it is. I don't want to outplay that swear to God it is because you say it so well.
Give us one, Jesse.
Come on.
I swear to God it is. Yeah. You guys don't know, go check out Donnie Baker for sure because he'll say it right to your face.
Well, no, I think that was a great thing to message too. Well, okay, this ought to be for another show, but mixing in team tactics are not home defense solo person tactics. It kind of plays off what you're saying there because we were discussing that on Instagram. But no, I think that about covers it. I don't think we won't touch on the Lumen stuff. I think we'll save that for next week. Next week we'll be down at Alliance, Ohio. All three of us will be together in the same room with Steve Fisher. So I'm pretty sure Jeff's gonna hit those 5 next week because him and Steve together in the same room.
Oh yeah.
Who knows? We might even do the show from the shoot house. You never know what's gonna happen next week. Jake in chat there just mentioned.
Yeah.
Practically Tactical episode 93. I swear to God, it is.
Yeah.
But no, I want to thank everybody out in chat. Again, you guys had questions. You guys have been chatting away a ton out there. So you guys had an awesome conversation. So I thank you guys. And again, for everybody out there on podcast, feel free to join us every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, youtube.com/practicallytactical. Be prepared for a ton of content. Just the amount of flashlights I have in front of me is insane right now.
So many lumens.
Yeah, and then, of course...
So many lumens.
The ADM rifle back in house.
Yep, ADM rifle. We'll have a review on that, of course, coming up. But a whole ton of filming's coming up, a whole ton of fun stuff. And again, I need to mention too, we'll be doing our listener private hangout next week as well, or maybe next week. Yeah, next week. So for those that are on the Patreon at that level. You'll be getting an email from us shortly to schedule that up. That'll be a fun time. But we're going to go to wrap it up here. Obviously, if you guys didn't catch it, we're at the Sentinel Concepts Low-Light Handgun and Low-Light Carbine class at Alliance, Ohio, October 23rd and 24th. Please join us. So, Jeff, are you going to be prepared to hang out with us for a week?
Oh, we're going to have so much fun. I swear to God we will.
That was a little creepy one. It puts the lotion on its skin.
Dude, let me tell you, I can out-creep anybody. Where do you
go?
Sending Jeff the wrong address.
Oh, no. Definitely, I mean, if you guys, are not in on the member Patreon, jump on it because there's going to be a ton of awesome stuff coming out, just a ton of fun stuff we've already been talking about for just hidden releases. It's stuff that we can't really put up for business pages and Facebook wise, but it's stuff that we can definitely get the group of you guys hanging out with us and kind of show you us the behind the scenes of some of this stuff too. Because again, guys like Steve and Jeff, they're cool to hang out with outside of the gun world too, and on real life topics. So get some of that. You definitely want to be checking that out.
Yeah. I need to do a clarification because Ike actually texted me during the show. I'm going to put a link in the show notes, so everything that can be, the discount code can be used on at Big Tech's Outdoors. There's a link in the show notes. You click it, and then it's pages worth of stuff. So yeah, it's Surefire, Aimpoint, Blue Force, Fire Clean, Slip 2000, and a bunch of other Emerson knives. Ton of stuff. There's a link in the show notes. Click the link. It shows you everything that is that you can use the discount code for. And again, shout out to Ike for scrambling to get a bunch of stuff that I needed. And mag pods. I needed some mag pods, lights, ton of stuff. So big shout out to Ike. And again, thank you to the listeners. We have Jeremy and Garrett for sending in those. And again, for everybody out there, send those emails in if you got any questions. We would love to discuss those. And of course, everybody out in chat, we got Jeff, Tyler, Phil, Mateo, Militaristics. I see what you just said in there. That's inappropriate, Jeff. That's inappropriate.
What did I say?
Just inappropriate. Greg, Phil, Jake. I know I'm missing more people. I think I even heard that Jarhead 6 popped in. Ton of people out there, so I thank you guys for tuning in and watching. Good show, everybody. Good job. Good job all around. Gold stars for everybody.
Golf clap, golf clap.
But of course, we want everybody here to remember that we're just a giant. We're just a piece. Man, I'm messing up this line, and it's so good.
Come on.
I know.
We want you and
yeah. We want everyone to remember that we are just a piece of a giant puzzle. So please check out This Week in Guns, a podcast here on the Firearms Room Network as well. I was just on there actually with an actual firearms lawyer, believe it or not. So now I'm blanking on his name, but you can go ahead and check out the latest episode of This Week in Guns podcast. We talk about a lot of stuff on that show, covered a whole lot of stuff. And, of course, be sure to check out all the shows here on the Firearms Radio Network as well by visiting firearmsradio.tv/iTunes. Send us your feedback. Send us your emails. So before we wrap up, though, Jeff, other than going to Ohio, you got anything else going on? Need to mention, need to discuss?
My brain is fried. Try the veal.
Roger that. Anything else, Jesse?
Going to get this 1911 rocking at this class. Jeff's going to take a look at it, and I think I'm going to run it through the low light portion for the handgun. So stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Yes.
All right. Well, as always, guys and gals, we thank you for tuning in. We thank you for listening to us, as we greatly appreciate it. And we'll see you next week for another episode of Practically Tactical.